Yes, 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 indeed. Nitro is not the glory at this podcast because it's all about 10 scale. That's right. We are back for our JConcepts INS15 Round number 2 from RC One Race Recap. Joining me, as you guys know, I'm Lefty the Great. Joining me to the middleman Will, or the chairman, Will Venables, and Damon Borkowitz, who some of you might know, but many of you probably maybe you don't, but we'll introduce Damon here in a minute. But we're here to talk about the recent INS race that happened at RC1 that I had the privilege of attending. There's a lot of drama coming out of it, but I like all of that. We are going to talk about that, but we definitely have to talk about the race. And but before we do that, I would like to say thank you to all of you guys out there that listen to these podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that notification button and share it out. A big thank you to Jason Rona and JConcepts for the opportunity to do these shows, as well as Amy and Hobbies, Hobby Wing, Schumacher, Exalt Electronics, Team Associated, Reedy, and of course, my good friends over there of the team Elite RC Productions. I went up to this race with Danny Paz and Lance McDonald to the RC1 facility in Macomb, Michigan, and it was a good weekend of carpet racing. And as you know, I am a big fan of carpet racing. Trackside was fun, and I enjoyed Trackside. It was a different type of fun. But INS brought the heat, brought the drama that only carpet racing can bring. And I loved it. But welcome to the show, Damon. For those who don't know Damon is Borkowitz was, I want to call you like Jason Rona's Padawan back in the day.
Something like that. I was definitely there was the jokes of the stepchild back in the day.
I mean, I saw you both in your flannel at RC1. You definitely look like you could be older brother and younger brother at the race. But yes, you were a very accomplished racer back in your younger years. I remember there was a lot of hype about you when you was in your 12, 13, 14-year age. I remember always hearing Jason talk about you on the Radio Impound podcast, which actually was my first ever podcast I listened to and got me into it. Go check that out. By the way, they have great interviews with some icons in the industry. And I think Will was the one who told me that you was at Masters, and I was like, wow, so Damon's kind of coming back into the industry. So maybe you can tell everybody kind of what you're doing in the industry. You've been to quite a few races that I've been to.
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, I used to race back in the day. I kind of started when I was like 9 years old, kind of stopped around 18, I think, 19 years old. I don't know exactly when. But yeah, and then it kind of just fell out of the industry, started life, working, school. And then a little while ago, last year around the Masters of Dirt time, Jason Rona had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to kind of help out at some of the races, take some pictures, hand out some tires, make sure everybody's having a good time, that sort of thing. And yeah, started having a good time with it. And then we kind of continued on with this year. I've been traveling with them to the Indoor National Series and been doing a couple other little events like some local A-scale races. Just attended the A-scale North Georgia shootout with Julian Oliveris. So that was a really good time. But yeah, just kind of taking some pictures, helping everybody out, and attending races, just like good old times.
Yeah, and I can attest that you are uber busy at these races. You're in the pits, you're talking to guys, you're helping us out because you definitely help out Danny Paz. I mean, even Rona was taking pictures at the RC1 race. So it's a group effort. It's good to have you on. I know Jason's go off to the Nationals because as we're doing this, I believe the Nationals are starting this week or should have started by the time this comes out. Yeah, so that's the Dirt Nationals that's happening at Hoosier, which is going to be the finals of the INS. I think it's in October, and I hope to get to that because I've never been to a race at Hoosier. And of course, we have the chairman, Will, what you been up to, Will? You recorded a 3.5-hour podcast with Max.
Yeah, me and Max finally did a podcast again, and just let him do his thing, let him speak for 3.5 hours. Didn't say the watermelon seeds, so no, it was actually a really good podcast with him. So yeah, I'll say to anyone, go check it out.
Yeah, go check it out. It was our last podcast because I was on the road for 5 weeks, had no opportunity to really record. I was with Damon was you at PMB too?
I was not.
Okay,
that was Paul and Julian.
Paul was there, but you was at North Georgia. I also got to race in Florida. I got to race short course truck and 21.5 buggy outdoor on a sugar track, and and spend money on tires, retail paying tires. So I feel the tire pain, everybody. I chased the tire game. Had fun at Newberry. Raced that was for Lance's Florida RC Championship 10 scale, and then I raced the Florida RC Championship 8 scale e-truggy, and I've had fun. I had fun for 5 weeks was long. I'm glad to be back home with my kids, and when you're away for that long, you also miss out on doing these type of things. And but INS was a good race. I really enjoyed my time at Trackside. I had a blast up there. All the people treated us really good. It's funny because a bunch of the Trackside racers came to P&B. And so I got to see them all again about a month after seeing them at Trackside, and they kept me fed and they kept me very well hydrated. I want to see PMB. So a big shout out to all the Trackside crew who came out, and we had a chipmunk from Trackside too that showed up and walked around PMB, and he wanted to turn marshal for nuts, and he believed that nitro was the glory. He knows what I'm talking about. That's actually his birthday yesterday. All right, so we go to the RC1 race. It's the second race of the INS Indoor National Series that we have going on. We come off a very good Trackside. There was a lot of emotion there. We saw Aydin Horne. I think he took the win, and we have it right here in it, right? So it was, no, that's INS. Last year's results, I thought we had results from, anyway, I know that it was Aydin Horne who won 4-wheel drive, and then I think it was it was Brock who won 2-wheel drive. I should have had all this written down. So this is the point of the series, that these guys come in and race some more. But with this race being so close to the nationals, we had some of the guys opt out of not coming to this race and choosing to go practice for the nationals, and that would be a Brock Champlin. Rinderneck didn't show up. I know Rivkin probably just because he went to Australia, he did Silver State and all that, because this race was exactly a week after Silver State. So some of the big names not showing up. No Cavallari as well, which is unfortunate because I would have liked to seen Cav come here. And we were missing some of the stock guys. No Sammy Moran, no Raymond Twins, who won. One of them won. I can't remember which one actually won. No Dominic Passioni as well. And we saw a great show between him and the Raymond Twins at Trackside. So it was not as stacked as Trackside, but I understand why, due to it being so close to the nationals. I mean, literally, it's happening this week. So a lot of people probably saving that budget to go to the Dirt Nationals, because Hoosiers is a very popular place. It's a beautiful track, and it gets a good turnout all the time. And as for myself, I wasn't even supposed to come to this race. I was supposed to be going over to Portugal for their IBC race, which ended up getting postponed due to weather, as well as the blackouts that they had. So for me, coming to this race we came home from North Georgia Shootout on a Monday, and then we got to Lake City at 12, and I was like, look, Joao, what's going on? He goes, best thing to do is just change the ticket. Change the ticket while Lance and Danny were out there packing. Then we was on the road at 2 a.m. up to Michigan, and woof, it was a long drive to Michigan. But worth it, because INS was awesome, and I got to see RC1. So I think we should just get right into this and look at some of the things here. Like I said, this is the first carpet race. There's only 2 carpet races on the series, in the Hill Series. The next one will be at Island, which is coming up very soon as well. I think it's coming up in June. So very quick, rapid. We have these 3 races. Then we have a little bit of time in between. I think I'm supposed to go to the second dirt race, which will be in Omaha in August, which is the week after Wicked Weekend. So I will be there. I'm looking forward to going to Hobbyplex up there as well. But this one was all about RC1, which happened May 2nd to 4th. We got up there way before you guys. We got up there Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah, Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So we got up there Tuesday, unloaded everything, set up everything, and I was pleasantly surprised by the facility. Very clean, very organized. I said this, Trackside was like every time you open up a door, you didn't know what to expect, because there's so many different cubby holes and places to go. But this was very surgical. There were signs everywhere. I mean, even signs while you was using the bathroom, I was trying to show that on my walkabout, but it was too occupied there. But I think Mike team has done a great job of putting on a good facility up there. They have a good bit of people racing up there. This is kind of like Aydin Horne's home track. I know that Dakotah Phend doesn't live too far away from her. Tater, those guys. So I got to see Michigan races. We got to see a bunch of Wisconsin racers, and then now like the complete state across, and their rivals, which I'm told, Wisconsin and Michigan are rivals. We have a whole different track, and my first time experience in EOS carpet as well. So was good stuff. Actually, the EOS carpet was on the jumps, and it was beachline carpet. I don't know what they call it, but it was beachline carpet on the rest. One thing I had to say, Will, I didn't realize that EOS carpet was so shaggy and long strands and dirty. Because this is like I've never seen a carpet track have so much carpet fibers all over it.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest issues with the EOS carpet that is when it's new, it's brilliant. Your tires will last forever. But then after, even now, especially with the new pin front tires we run, the carpet just kind of just goes within like a matter of races, and then the fibers come up, the carpet kind of gets thicker and it gets really loose and kind of just starts looking like that. So I don't know what the Ozite stuff is like. But Daimon will know better than I will if it holds up better. But yeah, it's a big issue with the EOS stuff. I kind of think if we could find something better in the industry, I think it would be great. But I think it's kind of just the industry standard for Europe, so we're kind of just sticking with it for now.
Yeah, so you can see these gray areas of the layout. That's where they had the EOS carpet. And when I talk to Mike, it just says it has a little bit less traction and more give. And I think it was really evident if, let me go over here, I'll do it with my mouse over here. Really evident on this part right here of the track, the very far part by the wall where the pits are, because people were jumping this little jump, which looks so simple, but caused a lot of issues because people would jump into this little pipe right here, and you heard that all day. Wow. You see, people thought people were breaking their cars. But I was watching, if people jumped on her and they landed her like just after that gray carpet, and they were turning, they did 3 million cartwheels into this wall. If you landed just on there, or you weren't turning, like it was much more forgiving to watch. And especially through this area here, which was the very hardest part of this track. And from a spectator point of view, but if you talk to the pro guys, the steps were the hardest part of the track. So if you guys are looking at this, we're looking at the track layout. As you can see, the track is surrounded by complete wall area. This used to be a dirt track. And trust me, these walls don't forgive at all. Lots of broken cars. I heard lots of smackage. It is a racing hobby shop. It doesn't have anything in there from like bashing wise. The only bashing thing they had in there was those micro tees. So this is like Trackside, a race track with a race orientated hobby shop, and has its people, like, it has people who have permanent pit areas who come here on a regular, rent them out. It's what we see when we see an indoor track like this in the States, where people it's like a clubhouse / track. As I'm sure, I don't know if you ever got to experience any of that as well, Damon, back in the day when you was racing. Well, tell us your thoughts of the track and of the facility, will you please, Daimon?
I think kind of similar thoughts for an RC track. It's obviously very clean. I think we've been to some pretty rough places. Won't mention anywhere in particular, but other than that, I think the brick wall was definitely something to mention. It also had a brick driver stand. I think, was it made completely out of brick?
I don't know.
The face of it was all brick. I don't know if it was completely made out of it or what, but that was always kind of nice to see somewhere with a stable driver stand. I know some of these events kind of have some sketchy driver stands, so that's always nice to see. Other than that, I think nothing too much stood out to me other than, like I said, that brick wall was pretty gnarly. Hearing cars go against that, or like, I mean, we got to see Aydin Horne, completely ripped the front end off of his four wheel. It broke I think it was his A mount. That's a block of aluminum, and it just,
yes. We found shrapnel, runner found shrapnel outside because we had the door open right next to us calling the race, and he was outside talking, and he just stops talking and picks up a piece of plastic.
I believe it. Yeah. And, that pipe too that you had pointed out. That, I think that was one thing that sounded like it was breaking a lot of cars, but I don't think I've seen a broken car right there. Maybe a couple arms, but that was it.
It sounded bad. It really did.
It sounded horrible.
It sounded bad. But very tricky track that made for some close racing. Like I said, that center off camber, I've never seen a section like this before in my life. It was I tell you what, if you were standing over by the pits and just, which you probably was, and you watched those cars come through there, it was one of the best things to see. Like some of these guys, I don't know how they didn't wreck. I would have wrecked 1,000 times. But like watching Phend come through, he's just jumping through there. Whoop, whoop. It was like, just, and that was one of the big caveats. That was the hard part of the track, right? You had to you had to start setting up for that center section coming off those steps. And those guys were trying to carry so much speed off the steps that it was just disrupting them. And then it's weird because it's like a dog leg that hooks back around. It was just a very, very difficult section that saw cause fits for a lot of racers, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was definitely the hardest section that I've ever seen in a track, and I think it's definitely something that you couldn't even do on dirt. I don't think the cars would have enough, you know, side grip to even withstand the amount of changing directions, those steps. It was definitely a wild thing to see, but in all reality, I think it worked out pretty well. You didn't really see, you obviously saw quite a few crashes, but you would think people would kind of end up flying onto the straightaway, but you honestly didn't see too much of that.
No, and believe it or not, we saw people making mistakes in some of the more simple areas of the track.
Yes.
I think I watched Nate, was it Dustin Fox and Aaron Mitchell, and they made a mistake, the same mistake, seconds apart, because Mitchell was chasing them down, and then I think Dustin Fox rode it right on top of the steps, and he came and did the exact same thing, like 0.2 of a second later, which caused him. He had a much longer Marshall, and other thing we saw was out on that back tabletop triple was a lot of wall taps. So people would, it's very hard to judge the wall. You can see tire marks on the wall. So people would tap that. When you tapped it right and landed it, it looked cool. But sometimes you tapped it too hard and it was a bad day. Will, you was not there. As a spectator, you got to watch some of this. As a person that has been to much more corporate tracks than I've ever been, what are your thoughts on it?
I like how many features there are, and like that middle section is basically completely raised off the ground. So it's not like they've just put, like, the biggest thing I noticed in Europe where it's all just kind of simple doubles, that's it. But here is like you're coming down, you go on the corner tabletop, down the step downs, kind of go into a race section, and then that kind of that whole off camber center section. I think that's really cool. It definitely looks like a one line section, and I don't know. I didn't personally see many overtakes on there unless someone wrecked, but I think it's a really cool track. I'm just looking at it now. I promise I'm not like daydreaming or something, but yeah, I'm just looking at all the tire marks on the wall, like you guys were saying. But I think from my side, it looks like a quite difficult track. I think maybe Daimon can say, like, if it's a track that if you stayed clean for 5 minutes, it'd really reward you, even if you weren't the quickest. But
I think all of us were impressed with the track and the facility. I know Lance was, I know Daniel was, and like I said, everything was. They even had a lounge area. I forgot to mention that they had a nice lounge area. You can get away from things, and I think that the track crew and all those guys that did a great job of hosting the race. They did a great job of providing a track that created some exciting racing, and a lot of people, I heard some people, we shouldn't have features like this. And I'm like, but this is the beautiful thing of carpet and having modular things. You can make all these wild type of layouts. I know Beachline makes some great layouts. Will, you need to come to Carpet Champs, by the way. I know you're a dirt guy.
it's on the list.
It was good to see. And I was, it made for great racing, man. We saw some good racing in the stock class as well. I think we're going to start out with that as well. Because it wasn't as stacked as usual, but we did have some fast guys. We had Dustin Fox coming out, who pretty much TQ'd everything, but he didn't have it as easy as he thought he was going to have it. We'll put up some video with him. I think this is Q2 that you have here, or overall, what is it? Qualifying from
It's a
two-wheel
round
drive
of qualifying from the Friday.
Oh, so this is Q1 of qualifying from Friday. Let's have a look at it. Let's see what it looks like. So people at home can have a look at what the actual track looked like. If you're listening to this, you can find this on YouTube and come check it out. And let's bring it up and make this wider.
But I think coming back to what you're talking about, the track actually having features and stuff, I think it's actually such a valid point. Like, especially in Europe, like a lot of our tracks, even if it's carpet, is really flat. And a lot of people like that, but I think it really ruins it because we're racing buggies that are obviously meant to jump and go over features. So I think here at RC1, like, you could you could basically argue 50% of the track is features of some sort. I think it's so good because it means like it's not just a touring car race. It's like you actually got to get around obstacles, and there's some that might catch you out, might not. There's like sections where do you double, do you triple it? I think that makes it. I think it's really refreshing to see, and I think that's what I always like see you Americans like really like do carpet tracks quite well because you always add all these big features and jumps, which I think is 100% what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're watching Q1 with Dustin Fox, who I haven't seen Fox since he was on the Yokomo at Carpet Champs last year. And he came out, he's now driving an X-Ray. And I have to say, I'm going to say it once now because I'm going to say it many times before. After this, X-Ray came out in force for this race. Absolutely. And even Aaron Mitchell runs X-Ray. So he was fast too. I think the only other person was Nate Sutherland was here. Alan Henley was here. He was running X-Ray as well. He showed some brilliance as well. Danny Chavez. I was expecting a little bit more from Chavez. Number one, carpet is his thing, and this is his proprietary. He's one of the guys that kind of found this carpet as well because it comes from Beachline. But Dustin Fox honestly was the toast of the town in two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and the only person that really came up, I think, throughout the whole weekend and challenging was Aaron Mitchell, who's an Island native. So kind of looks to be good going into Ireland for Aaron Mitchell as well. Daimon, your thoughts on the stock class and who impressed you, and any thoughts about that at all?
So the stock class, I got to watch quite a bit of it. Dustin Fox, he's kind of becoming one of my good friends at the track. He's always fun to hang out with, so it's always good to see him do well. He drove really well this weekend. Kind of put it where he needed to be. One person I was definitely impressed with was I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Dagon Bledsoe.
Mm-hmm.
He drove very. I don't know exactly where he finished. I can't quite remember, but he's definitely someone that's doing very well, kind of progressing. You can see the progression at each race.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. Nate Sutherland, obviously, he's putting in the work. I know he's been spending a lot of time with Talon Henley, I believe, getting ready for nationals. So it'll be good to see what he does for nationals. I know he's been putting in a lot of practice. I don't know exactly how long he's been staying with Talon. I think it's been a couple months. So
Really?
he does there. Yeah, I think it's been quite a while. So it'll be good to see what he does. Other than that, I think that's kind of the only noteworthy things that I can remember off the top of my head. Kind of just watch this race go around here.
I would like to add that who impressed me as well was McCoy Martin.
Yes.
McCoy Martin.
Dude.
He made both finals. He had a bump up into one, but he made both finals, I believe.
Another super nice kid and a really nice family as well. So
absolutely. 13 years old. And Dagon is actually from Virginia, and he's very good. So he came with Schimmel. He races out there at Coastal. And what's your thoughts on the stock class? Well, I know you're not too, you're a mod guy, but this is the most competitive class I think out there in RC right now in America in 10 scale.
I mean, yeah, I guess for the stock side for me is kind of, it seems like a gateway for the younger, like the guys up and coming to kind of prove themselves a little bit. And then, I know it's obvious, but then it seems like you kind of people up into the modified. But I think it seems like there's a few people now kind of going from stock to mod. Because I think Doug Leverrier, he's normally I think when I was at mod last year, he was stock, but now he's a mod driver. Because I think he was modified at this race as well. So I think I spoke with this a little bit with Max as well. I think, especially now with the power we have these days, I think it can sometimes make the racing a bit more enjoyable, I think. I'm saying this from someone that hasn't raced stock. So I think because the cars are easier to drive, you have less power, you're able to focus more on driving lines and the actual driving, instead of kind of just having all this power and just trying to just get the car around on a line. I hope that makes sense. Maybe Daimon thinks I'm talking absolute crap. But no, but you have closer racing with stocks. I can see the appeal with it 100%.
Also, the thing I'd add to this, that there were some not changes, but there were some features on this track that the stock cars couldn't do that the mod cars could. And that would be that it was like a sort of a triple, double, single after that weird chicane, you round around that 180. Now, the stock cars, they would have to double, single, or single, double, where those mod cars were able to fly over that. And that back triple that I talked about, Like if you had a really fast stock car and you hit that thing properly, you landed just about on the down grain of that thing. But if you had mod, you was able to clear it no problem one time. So I like that. I think that these tracks should have features that separate the less power of the stock, or if you have the balls in the stock motor to do it, you can do it. Because I tell you what, there were some fast stock motors out there this weekend. And Danny Chavez had one of them because he was one of the cars that consistently could do that jump. His car was fast. He just made mistakes as well. I think Dustin Fox was the best guy all weekend, and the best guy won at the end of the day. He didn't have it easy, I think, but he did win overall. And I think that's good for him, especially. And also, I forgot to add, Nate back on stock. I'm so happy with this because that's right now where he is brilliant, right? I know Schumacher kind of had him in mod at the Clash and as at Trackside, but I truly believe that right now where his value is in the stock class. Unfortunately, it didn't go for him as good as he wanted to this weekend, but still a very good. I'm glad to see Nate Don in stock, and he's coming off that TLR ride, right? And he's now getting used to the Schumacher ride. So this isn't something he's been driving for a while. He's only started driving it near the end of last year and this year. So it takes some time for these guys to get used to it. And you mentioned Doug. Doug is now running mod. He's not running stock. And he's going to go through the same teeth and pains that a Brennan Schimmel went through and a Davey Botto went through when they moved up. Very hot stock racers. They were very fast. And then they kind of had to grind it out and get some B. They weren't B mains. And they were, at the very end, they would be happy to make an A main. But now, like looking at Schimmel, looking at Botto, they were two of the fastest guys there. So I think Schimmel was the fastest guy, period. And Botto was the second fastest guy overall. Just mistakes. And I have a little theory about Schimmel, but we'll talk about that later. But that's what Doug's going to have to go through. And if he can survive that and get up to that mod and start getting those results in mod, and of course he has some sort of a future, but it's a very hard step, right? And we've seen a good stock driver get up to mod and just flounder and just go back down to stock because for those guys, that's where the competition is and that's where they're good at. And that's where, honestly, for some of them, that's where the money is to pay for their racing nowadays. So Dustin Fox takes a win in 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. Let me just bring up some of the results. Let's go through some of the people so Fox, Nate Sutherland, Aaron Mitchell, top 3. Henley had a good weekend. He could have been better, right? But he showed he had a second in A1 and he showed some pace, but it was mistakes, right? Chavez was in 5th. Evan Ceresi, a local who had some beautiful cars. He came in 6th. Good job to him. Brady Carico also had a good weekend as well. Like I said, McCoy Martin, Evan Cook, another Factory Tracks, and Colin Miller. I think I met him. I'm trying to put faces to names. So that was 4-wheel drive, sorry. And then in 2-wheel drive, we had Dustin Fox, Aaron Mitchell, Brady Carico, 3rd. I think that's very good for him. Very good. Danny Chavez, McCoy Martin, 5th. Caleb Curatek is a local as well. Alan Henley, Colin Miller, Dagan Bledsoe, and unfortunately Nate. They had a very, very bad 2-wheel drive, which is not good for him. He did win truck though, but there was not as much competition in truck. So I think the stock class was good because missing a few fast guys. I would have liked to see like a Jovi come over here. Jovi Levin is very good. A silent Sammy Moran who's doing some 8 scale apparently. And a few other, obviously the Raymond brothers, even though I know they're dirt specialists, and Pancioni, I would have liked to have seen come. But, they do get to drop around. And so I believe a lot of them are coming to Island because Island's kind of the warm up to the carpet nats in August. So stock class going to heat up. I can't wait till there's faster stock guys come, and let's see if some of these guys had good results here are going to be at Island. Let's see if they can mix it up and also improve their results going into the battle at the Island is what I'm calling it because it's going to be a battle. Any more thoughts on stock before we move on to the nitty gritty of mod?
Not personally. I think following your kind of same theme of it'll be interesting to see the Island race. Like you said, it's going to be kind of the warm up for nationals. So I guess we'll be able to kind of see who's gonna do what, or maybe we can treat it as the warm up. Kind of see what we're gonna get out of nationals from those guys. And like you said, just those 4 guys will be 4 more guys in the main, so that's 4 more guys who are gonna battle it out, or who can potentially win. So it'll be good. It'll be good to see.
It will be good. Well, these guys going to battle at the Nationals this weekend. So you might see some fireworks this weekend because all the fireworks from this weekend came in the mod class. And
Yes.
it took a little while, but it came near the end of the day and it was awesome. But let's get into mod because it was some good racing in mod. And I am going to tell you this. I'm going to get this out in the open right now. I think that X-Ray did everything possible to make sure that X-Ray had a great result at this race. Everything possible. I think Schimmel was the fastest X-Ray driver there. I saw Schimmel check up a few times. I saw him make mistakes, but everybody was copying Schimmel's car because he came out like in seeding. He was blast.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, that's one thing Schimmel's been really good at is he's always been known to put in a couple heaters when it comes to seating. I feel like that's a theme I've noticed with him lately.
Oh, he did. He didn't really come alight in the A mains, unfortunately. But I did see him. I think he checked up for Phend. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he checked up for Phend. I don't have it on her, but I saw one side of it. And at one point I was watching and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I would have let him have that. But we do see with Phend coming back after his parental leave, his paternity leave. He's the father. This is his home track, so it was a little easy. Hasn't raced in about a month and a bit. And I asked him, I was like, so have you missed racing? He's like, yeah. He goes, I missed racing except Silver State because Fuller kicked everybody's butt. That's for another podcast. But he said, yes, I have missed the racing. I'm excited to be back. We got to see his, Chloe was there with his son. So it was good. I said it was a good family environment for him. His mom was there, his dad, Chloe's dad. So they all came out to support Phend. And dude, he's lost a bunch of weight. He's lost weight since I last saw him at SIs. He's lost 35 pounds altogether. He's skinny. Skinny now. He went opposite dad bod, And usually it's they get bigger when the baby comes out, but he went smaller. But he was there, and first time on carpet at a big race on his new X-Ray rides and all the Coyote stuff and everything he's got going because he has a complete new program besides tires. And I think it was a good result. I mean, I honestly thought that Phend was going to run away with this the entire weekend, but he didn't. He had it very hard, and he didn't run away with the whole thing. Go ahead, Damon. Tell us what you thought about Phend and the mod and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and unmute myself. So yeah, I think similar thoughts. I thought Dakotah was obviously going to do well. This was one of those tracks where if you had kind of any mistake, it was very amplified. It was hard to make up time unless you were running significantly faster laps, which obviously we don't see very often. So he was obviously kind of the favorite. I think he almost did. There was definitely some hiccups in those mains that were kind of maybe not a little in his control, a little out of his control. Don't want to throw too much blame. But yeah, I think we could have maybe seen him wrap it up in the first 2 mains without some of those factors. But I definitely think it was a fun one to watch between all of them, and especially like you had mentioned earlier, that the drama that had ensued and the theme of team driving.
There's some team driving. There's definitely
there was a little bit after in those later mains for sure. I'll say that.
Yes, I will say this. I will say that. So Phend in two-wheel drive, he had a 0-0 in qualifying. He had a 0-0 and then a 3. Obviously, he wrapped it up. Brendan Schimmel was second. He had a 5, 3, and a 0. He took the final run. Aydin Horne, top of the ton for the Associated guys. He had a 3, 2, and a 2. And Bada, I think Bada was so fast this whole weekend. But you know what? You know what screwed Bada? Lap traffic. Lap traffic screwed Bada many times, especially in finals.
Yeah, that was a theme for a lot of people, unfortunately. But I think Bada definitely got some of the bad deals on that.
Mm-hmm. Then we had Chase Lemieux in 5th, Brandon Foote, who's a fast Pacific Northwesterner, Brady, Juan Lopez. I was surprised to see Juan here. We saw him at PNB. He was very good as well. Then we had Ryder Jimenez and Danny Chavez running off a top 10, but 2 had to bump up. Chavez was doing double duty. We saw a lot of guys doing double duty. We saw Doug take that bump up in two-wheel drive to make the final as well. And then let's have a quick look at four-wheel drive. Anything to add about mod while I look at the four-wheel drive results, qualifying results? There, Will, Chairman.
No, not really a whole lot for me. I guess like Dakotah looked really quick throughout the whole time, but I think just like small mistakes always. I don't know. I feel like with Dakotah, like if once he strings it together, he is absolutely rapid, as we see. But then if he like has a mistake, it seems like it really seems to hurt him. That's the only kind of thing I noticed with Phend. And yeah, I kind of noticed with Phend and Schimmel. I wasn't sure if that was. There were some times I thought Schimmel could have easily got through, but I'm sure you will get into that in a sec.
Well, Will, you know more about X-Ray than us. I mean, you've been dealing with X-Ray for many, many years over there in Europe, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Four-wheel drive, we had Phend, Lemieux, Horne, Bada, kind of similar, except Lemieux looked really good. Brandon Ford, Schimmel, not so good in 6. Sontag, we got to talk about him. In four-wheel drive, he was good. Two-wheel drive, though, he had so much issue. Like, I have never seen an electric runaway till I saw he was just having issues. And I asked him, I was like, what's going on with your car? He says, I've changed every electrical component in my car besides a transponder in two-wheel drive. So Tater didn't make the show because he just had electrical issues. Not because he wasn't on pace, didn't have the speed. It's just he couldn't finish a race. He couldn't finish a qualifier.
Did he not change the transponder in the end? I have heard one person before their transponder was the issue. But
well, he kind of summarized that it was the issue, and he says it's the only thing I haven't changed, so it's got to be the issue. I don't know. Maybe, Daimon, you was in the pits more than me. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more.
To be honest, I don't exactly know. I know there's maybe some issues with I've heard a sensor wire issue early on in the weekend. He was having issues with that, so maybe something in the speed control flooded throughout the system. I really don't know. I can't say I've specifically talked to him about it.
Okay. But also, I have to say that Tater is going to be the center of much of the attention that we have her, because him and Aydin Horne were going at it all weekend, by the way. Not just Lance had to bring them over and talk to them, have a chat with them, because they were just going at each other. And Aydin was getting pissed off at Tater, and Tater just kept poking. One of the things was Aydin says, he's blocking me. And Tater goes, yeah, I'm blocking you. I don't have to move out of the way. And I was like, ooh, we're going to have some fireworks. But Dakotah Phend won he won two-wheel drive. He won A1. He got a third in A2, and then he had a first in A3. So he wrapped it up, which I always like. I always like when these races go to a final, or a third qualifier. Like I said, Bada was fast. Like, he impressed me. Out of all the associate guys, he impressed me the most. Like, he was the only one who I think fairly was on pace with Phend in two-wheel drive and could beat him. I was matching him tit for tat out there. But he would just make little bobbles. He even came back from some of those bobbles. But it was some exciting racing between Phend and Bada, I would say. Bada went 2-2, and he had a 5th in the end. I think in the A3, he just got smashed. Like, he got smashed by some lap traffic, went all the way down to, I don't know, who knows where. But Bada was Bada impressed me the most out of the associated guys, to be honest. So I thought he was very good. Aydin Horne ends up finishing 3rd in two-wheel drive. He had a 3rd, a 1st. He won A2. So that was good for him. Actually, we have a video of Aydin, and I like this. I think this is another reason why there's an X-Ray and AE beef right now. Let me bring this video up, because this was during the two-wheel drive modified A2 main, actually. Let me bring it up. I'm getting excited. So Aydin and Phend were coming through that section we was talking about, the very hard section that we all agreed is very difficult to do. And this is what Aydin done. And I thought I'm okay with it.
He had the
Okay, I'm talking in this one. Let's go back. So this was an Elite RC Productions replay. This is A2. There's Aydin out front, followed by Phend. Phend has a little look on the inside. Can't make it stick. Aydin goes a little wide. Phend he looks on the outside, and Aydin goes, nope. I think Aydin had to kind of defend that corner. Let's go back. Let's have another look at it.
It
I want
kind
you
of
guys'
looks like
thoughts on
he was
this.
just kind of looks like he was just steering a little bit too much to the right, about to hit the corner, and he just wanted to check up.
That's what it looks
Kind of
like.
looks like to me.
Yeah, I would go along with Will on that because if you look at his launch off of the I don't even the switchback section, I guess you could call, he's jumping to the pipe, so he has to kind of correct. And when you're on carpet, when you're landing with a turning wheel, you're gonna immediately cut left. So I don't think it was intentional. I don't think any of these guys kind of intentionally take them out. I'm sure there definitely is some intentional takeouts. I'm not going to say that. But I think in this situation, obviously, he's just trying to go around the track. And when you drive over someone's wheel, it kind of throws you into the other lane like that.
Now that I look back on it, Will, I would have to agree with you. It kind of looks like, and what Daimon says, it kind of looks like he jumps and he's turning, and he just, as soon as he lands, he's on the throttle, and it just shoots him out there. I mean, to be honest, there was no real kerfuffle on the stand after this. I think Phend even accepted it as a racing incident. Maybe. But Aydin Horne takes A2, sets up a very exciting A3 that we were looking forward to. But Phend takes the win and takes the overall in two-wheel drive, which I kind of expected was going to happen. So I wasn't too surprised about that. But I did enjoy that Aydin won it. And then Davey Bada was also giving Phend a lot of fits. But then again, Phend hasn't raced for a month and a half, and this is his first time on the carpet, on a carpet, racing carpet at this level. Just look, I think Phend is probably one of the best, if not the best, all-around racers in the world. And the guy amazes me that he just comes off a month and a half, a new father, and he's able to be this competitive right off the bat. It's amazing. Amazing to me. Will, any thoughts before we move on to four-wheel drive and the fireworks?
I think, I guess let's just go to the bit everyone kind of wants to hear, the fireworks.
We got to go through four-wheel drive results.
Well, yeah, we've got to go through four-wheel, but I think let's just go into four-wheel.
Yeah, let's go into four-wheel drive and go into some of the results. And this is where Tater and Aydin got into it. But big shout out to Chase Lemieux. While all this was going on, Chase Lemieux actually won this. He got a first, a second, and a first. I do think so. A3, I noticed that Phend had some issues with his. It seemed like he had some issues with his ESC. And talking to Jason, he kind of didn't have he lost his throttle curve, and I know he had to do some work on his car prior to that. Had things went well, I think it could have been a different result. But kudos to Chase Lemieux. He was just as fast. He had a 1, a 2, and a 1. While all the other X-ray guys and the AE guys were kind of battling each other, he was just silently over there doing well all weekend, in my opinion.
It's that Rolex he was wearing, I'm telling you. It was the Rolex.
The borrowed Rolex.
I didn't know that he had. He has a Rolex?
No, Daimon will know the story better.
Yeah,
I just saw in Aydin's vlog.
Yeah, I think one of Aydin's friends, I'm not too exactly sure what his name would be, but yeah, he was wearing a I think it was just a date with the fluted bezel, so it looks real poppy. So he had borrowed that for the photo shoot.
Okay, got you. I understand. But Aydin, this is where all the sparks started to fly. Because so Tater made the final in this one, and him and Aydin, it all came to a head right here. And I wasn't really paying, I couldn't see this because I'm looking at I'm watching the race on the screen, right? But apparently there's a whole bunch of blocking going on by Tater. He admitted to it. He says, I got to move out of his way. They were good. Like, they did not like each other this weekend. And like I said, I couldn't see it. I just could see the aftermath coming off the street when they finished and when they came down off the stand. And I remember I was like, everybody was pointing fingers. Shimmer was mad. They were arguing with Doug. It was Doug and Aydin. And then it was Tater. And Tater and Shimmer arguing with them. And then Davey Bada just goes off to wherever he's got to go turn marshal. He wasn't involved in it, but it was mostly Tater and Schimmel versus Aydin and Doug. I don't know all what happened in there. Aydin says he was blocking him. Tater says, Tater from Roddy Santos says, I was blocking him. I don't care. That's he was pissed off. So everyone was pissed off, and it came to a head, and it came to now that famous video. I was just happy to be at the end of the driver's stand because you caught all the emotions as soon as people came down, right? I was right there. So I'd be like, Danny, what's going on down here? And he would tune in. And that was epic. Was you there, Damon? Was you there? Because I know Rona was there and Charlie Swankel was there.
Yeah. I kind of came over. I was watching from the other wall during that A3, and then I had kind of started to walk over there kind of towards the end of the race and kind of talk to the guys, and that's when the fireworks, as you say, had started popping off between them.
Now, did you see the blocking and stuff that Aydin was upset about?
Yes and no. I didn't see all of it per se, but I did see a little bit of it. There was definitely a lot of pointing fingers of, your team driving, no, your team driving, and there was a lot of little issues in between, like you said, the X-ray guys and the team associated pits this weekend. But in all reality, I think what ended up happening is Tater got upset about some things, and then he wanted to try and play his part or feel like he was playing his part in, helping Dakotah or Chase win the race for his team. But in reality, all that does is just kind of cause drama in between your friends. And I think that's what Aydin saw it as. And he's kind of like, dude, why are you ruining my race? Like, we're doing this for a living. You're doing this to have fun. Why are you getting in the way?
It was definitely heated.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on between them all week and long, but it definitely came to a point. It had to be after A2, I believe, of four-wheel drive. I'm trying to find it up. I'm trying to find it right now, actually. I've gotten to know Aydin over the last few years. I love interviewing Aydin because I know it's always going to be exciting, right? And it was exciting this time around. And a lot of people got mad because he grabbed the microphone from me, and I'm like, no, that's kind of like what he does, right? And I like that these drivers. I personally don't think that Aydin said anything wrong in his interview. I think he was upset, which I understand, and I think that look, I'm looking at a video. Schimmel was upset at Bada. There's something happened there. I'm just trying to find the A2 version. But basically, I'm okay with this. I think we should let these drivers express themselves. He didn't curse. He didn't say anything wrong. He just kind of vented. He vented and was funny at the same time. That's what was funny about it. And of course, it went viral. It was for a lot of jokes and all this stuff. But I want people to understand it was a lot of, oh, I can't do this at my regular job and whatnot and all this type of stuff. Well, you also can't get punted off the track at your regular job and miss making maybe making a decent paycheck and what you don't make a decent paycheck as it is. Because these guys ain't making a whole bunch of money. And like you said, he's out there racing for a living. I'm sure Tater is to an extent, but not as much as probably as Aydin Horne is. Aydin Horne is doing this for a living, has been doing it for quite a few years. They both need good results too. Like Tater needed a good result and Horne needed a good result. So there's Horne though. He's happy. So I'm trying to find out when this happened. It had to happen after two-wheel drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So what had kind of started the whole thing, at least from what I saw in my perspective, was during, I think it was A2 a two-wheel. Dakotah was leading. They're kind of coming through lap traffic. And when Dakotah was coming up on Brady Carrico, Brady kind of stayed in the racing line a little too long. He kind of probably should have let Dakotah go a few corners ago. And when they were coming down the steps, he had realized that these guys are way faster than me. He tried to let them go, but the problem was he let them go in the racing line. So Dakotah had to readjust his line really quick. And then all of a sudden, like Will had pointed out, that step down to center section, there was one line to hit through there. And if you're just a little bit off, you're flipping over essentially, because Dakotah had kind of clipped the pipe, flipped over, collected Brennan. And it kind of started this whole thing of the team associated versus X-ray. They had kind of like, oh, if you're going to team drive and help, your guy try and win, well, we're going to block for our guy. I think that's kind of what had transpired.
I would 100% agree with that. I would agree that there was, I I think there was team driving. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. X-Ray is known for this. They are known for pushing the gray area of RC. You know, it's not like this is something that X-Ray hasn't done. I don't have an issue with the team orders. I think, like I said, I think X-Ray worked together to get the best possible result for X-Ray. One, I think Dakotah Phend needed to come out and win this weekend. You know, after, especially to prove the TLR guys wrong, especially after having a little sabbatical. So I think he needed to win, and it works out for Chase because he's good in the points, right? And he's going into this. So X-Ray wins, and they had a strong freaking team there. Like, they had a big team there, and that's where it benefits to have that big team. And AE decided, like, Rivkin wasn't there. They didn't have a lot of, they kind of relied. I get it. If the Nationals coming up, they kind of had to make some choices. Schumacher didn't have their top guys. There was no Brock Champlin. There was no Tom Rinnenek. So they were kind of out of it. TLR, okay, we want to talk about TLR because there was nobody that was capable of doing that in TLR, unfortunately. But I think X-Ray is taking this seriously. Like, I was surprised at Carpet Champs last year when I saw how big the X-Ray team was. Then I saw that Clash of Champions. And as I'm going to Mooney's 10-scale races, I honestly think, I know you're an Associated guy, Bill, so I'm going to say some things that's going to hurt your feelings. And I know that you, Daimon, ran Associated for a long time. I think that X-Ray in the 10-scale side of things is bigger than Associated. I shouldn't say bigger. Very close to being the size of X-Ray, of Associated, if not bigger at some of these races. Because at Carpet Champs, they were huge. Clash, that picture I saw was big. I'm sure I think in America, there's still a lot more Associated drivers, right? But on a competitive stock and mod level, on a national level in the USA, X-Ray is very big and literally kicking down the door of Associated right now. The Schumacher, it doesn't seem like the Schumacher Associated beef, the Schumacher X-Ray beef from Europe has kind of come to the USA, but it's definitely alive in Associated. It doesn't seem that way in Europe, though. It definitely seems more Schumacher and X-Ray. Your thoughts on this, Bill? You've dealt with X-Ray for many, many years over there in Europe. Am I wrong on any of these points?
No, I think you definitely have a point there, and I think X-Ray have definitely started to step it up a lot. But I think X-Ray's ethos, I guess, is obviously to win, and I think at almost no expenses spared kind of thing. And I don't mean like they're going to blatantly take people out and whatever, but I guess a good example you could say of X-Ray is kind of like Max Verstappen in a way, like, because Max Verstappen, like, everyone will know, like, he's done some, he'll like go purposely wide into corners or do X, Y, Z, but it's almost like he's going as far as he can to do something without kind of breaking a rule, if that kind of makes sense. So even though I guess you could say morally, I don't want to say X-Ray morally do bad things, but I hope people kind of understand where I'm coming from here, like blocking and so on, maybe letting people go. Like, it's not technically like doing anything real bad. It's kind of just, I guess you could say, a tactic. But in a way, they're allowed to do it. So, like, it's just, that's what some guys will do. And I'm trying to say this, like, without kind of saying that they're bad, because I don't think they are. But I can see why people would do it, I guess, or it's a way that people feel like they could do that to gain an advantage, maybe.
I have said for many years that X-Ray operates in the gray area. They have done anything to win within the rules. There's if they've gone over the rules in some things where people have accused them of, a la the Worlds when they did all those laps and all that type of stuff. Yes, I think they've stretched it out. We've seen tire problems. You've seen Martin Beyer have to drop his tire company at the 2014 Worlds. We saw Tessman, 2017 Neo buggy, from Proline to JConcepts tires. That caused a big kerfuffle. Martin Molanka at the Euros, I think it was 2013 or 14 maybe, Robin Hood got booked for 2015. Everybody in teams, they're saucing, and he's the only one who got booked, right? Or kind of like the scapegoat for everything. They want to win, right? And that's part of racing, right? Look at NASCAR and look at NASCAR. Like people get caught cheating for a millimeter in NASCAR, right? But that millimeter might have made a difference. So I guess it comes. I'm not saying they're cheating. I'm just saying it's gray area. And when you come with a squad like they had, which had their top, I mean, X-Ray's got a squad. Think about it. You got Phend, you got Schimmel, Chase Lemieux, um, freaking Tater, and then they have a very big, a very competitive, modified squad that can go anywhere and compete. And they did. And the other teams decided that this race wasn't as important. And I think having that size of a team, not saying that it wasn't important, but they had other priorities. I think when you send that size of a team, that kind of plays into your benefit, right? And I definitely think they work together as a team to have the best result. And I definitely think there's some beef between Aydin and Tater. We're going to see if it comes to a head at the Nationals this weekend. But I definitely think there's some friction, some smoke, maybe even a little bit of fire going on because X-Ray is fastly encroaching on associated territory here in the USA. Daimon, any thoughts on that? I know you have to be politically correct on this one.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm in the pits with all these guys, so I'm not going to start any drama. There's definitely, obviously, some point or some finger pointing in the pits this weekend. At the end of the day, I don't think it creates some very good drama. With the whole team driving stuff, and there was some blatancy of it, going into A3. But I don't think any of these guys really kind of go into the races with any like I know I've never personally gotten any team orders from my team manager. So I think a lot of these guys just want to go into the race every weekend of I'm going to win. I don't think any of these guys want to say like, hey, I'm going to not win and take this guy out or block him or, not let him buy so he can win. I think all these guys want to win too much for that. So I think it kind of transpires as the weekend goes on of whose feelings gets hurt and who kind of angers who. And then all of a sudden, when it comes down to A3, it goes, hey, you know what? I'm not going to win. I'm just going to block you anyway. I think that's kind of how it played out a little bit. So I hope they don't go into nationals and create, where either one of them's on a really good run and kind of ruins each other's weekends. But who knows? Maybe maybe we'll see something crazy happen.
Maybe. What are your thoughts on X-Ray and their presence in the USA? Because you've seen it firsthand as well.
Yeah, I think they've definitely done a lot of growing. I know when I was racing to see someone at the track with an X-Ray car, I was like, wow, you just saw the most expensive car and just wanted to buy it. It wasn't necessarily like expensive car equaled really good, because back then their off-road stuff was not really on par. But nowadays I'm seeing, kind of the average guys are starting to get into the X-Ray cars, versus the Associated. So I think in presence-wise, they're way bigger. I think they've made an emphasis on expanding their US territory. So they're accepting more people on the team, getting stock drivers on the team, kind of diversifying there a little bit, which I think in return has obviously made them a much more dominant factor at the races. Like you said, at Carpet Champs, I mean, they took up half of the back straightaway or something like that with their team or the podium, something crazy. And, I think with Associated, we haven't seen that in a while. I know even back in my day, I don't even think our team pictures were quite that big, minus at nationals, maybe when all of our guys were there. But especially at something like these indoor national races, I mean, they had probably a full line of pits. So they're definitely expanding a lot more, and it'll be interesting to kind of see where they, place their foot in the US market over the next couple of years.
Will, your thoughts on this possible? Am I imagining things, sir, or do you think this is something? As an AE guy, I don't think you guys have this too much over in Europe because it's more like Schumacher. Schumacher is really big, and X-Ray are very big in Europe. I would say that AE is kind of, I don't want to say third tier, but not as popular as those two brands over in Europe. Am I correct in saying this, or you might have a better perspective of it?
I think last year it was definitely I guess you could say, at least in the UK, more associated in Schumacher. Like, I think a lot of the UK guys will agree with that. But we've just had Lee Martin kind of jump ship to X-Ray. So there's a lot of people that kind of jump ship to X-Ray as well. Even a lot of like club guys or who they used to run Schumacher or even like AE. But I mean, I think like kind of following from what Daimon said, like they're putting a lot of work and it's kind of starting to pay off for them. So they're definitely in the mix. I think, especially now, like we don't really have TLR anymore. The Little Mugen here isn't as popular. Yokomo, kind of same thing there. So it kind of only really leaves like kind of 3 brands at the moment, at least in Europe and the UK, and I'm gonna guess a lot of America as well. So I don't know if that's just more market share for them, or it feels like there's kind of less places people can go, and they seem to be a good, like a somewhat decent option. Like honestly, like people like they're starting to do pretty well, and fair play to them.
Yeah, I mean, with it's funny because a lot of the rivalry has been around for a long time, and a lot of the guys that were running TLR are now running X-Ray, and that's been one of the longest running rivalries in USA racing. Has been associated and TLR. And when I listen to stories about back in the day when it was just AE and TLR, and it was like, yeah, AE was on one side of the pits, and that's where he was, and they wanted to have all 10 cars be associated, and TLR was the other side, and it was a team rivalry on there, and I'm sure this is nothing new. I'm sure there were team orders and takeouts back in the day too. I remember the Ghani told me like back in the day when it was in the ATO world, it was like Kyosho and Mugen and maybe Offna and Thunder Tiger. And if you didn't make the A final and you was on the A team in Kyosho, you was off the A team. They wanted their whole team at these big 8 scalers. You had to have 10 Kyoshos. I think we see this in all types of sports. I mean, there's obviously rivals in between sports. I'm sure NFL, baseball all have their rivals. I know one of the most famous derbies ever is the Manchester City versus Manchester United. I had to throw that in there because I'm a City fan. So rivalries, okay. There's team driving in all types of sports, in all motorsports. I mean, there's team driving in Formula One. There's team driving in NASCAR. It's never admitted, but it's there. I'm sure there's in motocross and all that type of stuff. The only issue in RC is that really you can only ruin your race. You can't really hurt yourself. So it gets maybe a little bit too extreme. I think we're gonna see. We'll see what happens at nationals. I don't want to see intentional takeouts and all that stuff. I want to see good racing, but I'm sure tempos are going to flare. It just seems like this always happens on carpet, right? We was talking about this recently this year, how we think it's getting too fast, and we've seen incidents at EOS and other races. So it comes to my question is, we've talked about this, you and I, Will, and I'm going to ask you, Damon, is off-road too fast on carpet?
I think it's approaching that. I mean, these guys, I remember, putting it, back in my day, we ran about like, 6.5. It was considered like the fast motor to run in a 2-wheel. And then now these guys are running 4.0s, 4.5s, with boost, or whatever they call it nowadays. But I think it definitely makes it a lot harder when your cars are very touchy. You're moving at a lot higher speeds, and then you go on to these really small tracks. I think it makes it a lot more difficult. Now, is it too fast? I don't know. Are we going to start regulating the mod class now? That's, I guess something you would have to look into. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best direction to go, but it's really hard to say if it's too fast. But it's definitely a lot faster than what it was, and it definitely makes things a lot harder to race side by side, if that makes any sense.
There's no room for error at that pace, right? And on carpet, it's so much traction. So we're starting to see a lot more of these incidents happen. And we didn't really see this happen at Trackside too much because the dirt was a little more forgiving. I think it's just all part of racing. That's just something that comes with carpet racing. And these guys are going to have to adapt. If you start limiting, we've had this discussion. If you start limiting it, then we'll just turn it into expert stock, right? And they're going to go looking for more speed anyway, which brings in a whole nother aspect to this. I think I think it's just maybe they should back on and not run a full 5. Maybe they need to run a 6.5 and they'll have more control of their car. Will, you are our carpet expert. Give us your thoughts real quick.
I think one of the biggest issues is it's a natural evolution of motorsport and racing where like if it's gonna be faster, people are gonna do it. Whether that means like we have tires with more steering and whether it means that we're gonna run a 4.0 because it's just gonna be that much faster, you know, it's just a natural evolution over the years. Like I have seen like people go from 6.5s to 5.0s to 4.0s, and then we've gone from like kind of staggered tires to kind of pin tires in the front where the cars are a lot less forgiving to drive. Being truthful, probably not as fun. It's so, you're so prone to like making mistakes. Or like you saw Aydin checked up in one of those, on that video we were looking at, and accidentally kind of, don't say took out, but kind of like, let's say checked up and accidentally tagged like Phend. He was just checking up. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it happened so quick, stuff like that happens. And that's when all these mistakes, I think, now are starting to happen. But the problem is, if you start regulating it, is it still modified? Is it just would it then just become like another progression of stock, like a stock mod or something? So I think there's two sides to it. I definitely agree it's too fast. It's getting too hard to drive. It's just not as fun sometimes. But I also appreciate that it's motorsport. If it's faster, people are going to do it. And I think that's kind of the evolution we're at the moment. So unless someone wants to decide to kind of, what's the word, like say, listen, like we need to change the rules to make it easier, I think it's the way it's going to be for a little bit. But I think truthfully, I don't know how much faster the cars can go at this point. So I guess answering your question, that's probably how I'd put it.
Yeah, I don't think we can do anything about it. It's going to take the drivers to probably not run the ego of running that fastest motor possible, dropping on and getting more controllability out of their cars. But I just think it's just going to be a part of carpet racing. But I think what we're seeing here is carpet racing is going to become more. It's slowly becoming more popular as it's getting harder and harder to facilitate and sustain permanent dirt tracks. This is so. I mean, even permanent carpet tracks is not sustainable. I think we're gonna see a lot of transition into the semi-permanent tracks, similar to what you guys are doing over there in the UK and whatnot. Let's a quick question. A couple of things. I think. Do we think Aydin and Hader continue their rivalry? I think so. I think it's been so much. I don't know, like they're they seem to be friends off the track, but you can still be friends and still be rivals, right? It's weird. I know that, but we could do with some rivalries. We look at good old let's look at some of the good old rivals that we had. We had Prost and Senna. We had Schumacher and Hamilton for a little while. NASCAR, we had Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. I think rivalries are great. It builds storylines. It builds suspense. This is a series. So we kind of want to highlight that. These guys have to think of the long run. Even if they mess up, they still have to have a good run to make good points. And I think we kind of just have to embrace it. Obviously, there should be some limits. We don't want to see people putting hands on each other. That ain't called for. Okay, maybe a limit, I think, is limit when we saw Mayfield give Tatsman that little push. But I think we have to let these guys just be themselves. Stop being vanilla. Stop letting them, let's stop being like, my car was so dialed. You finished fucking 10th, right? Your car was not dialed, obviously, and the race wasn't great. So don't say that. Let them feel let them speak how they feel. For people who said, well, I can't do this on my real job or on any other job. Oh, this is different. This is motorsports. Like, these guys are at the top of their level. They're racing for money at this point. Most of those guys in that A final of some sort. So imagine if money is on the line. These guys are going to get emotional. Let them have their personalities. And I think the industry has changed a lot where this happens. I mean, Daimon and I were discussing it, back in your day when you was racing, everything had to be dialed and everything had to be PC. I think we need to embrace it. Don't shy away from it. We look forward to what's going to happen at the next race because that's what happens with these things. Karma's a bitch. It always comes around. And it's always going to be a next race. And you might just say, I don't care about the points this weekend. I'm going to take him out. And it's just part of it. Like, this is what builds great storylines. And I think this is some of the stuff that RC's been missing. And this is what happens when you have a series of races like the INS. So I think we should embrace it. I've been desperately looking for this the entire time. Aydin's article, interview. A couple of things I want to touch on before we go, because I know we're going off the notes and we've definitely gone over the hour time limit. That looks good this weekend. Hobbypex has put on a great, another great, great track. Any predictions for two-wheel drive stock, and four-wheel drive, and mod and two-wheel drive? You go ahead, Daimon.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and start with stock. Predictions are always hard. I'm obviously going to hope Dustin can carry some pace from this weekend over into there. Obviously, there's a lot of fast guys that are going to be in the stock division. We got the twins racing. I'm sure Sammy will be there. A lot of the other stock guys, I'm sure I'm forgetting to mention. Passion, he'll be there. So I would have to assume that a top. I guess I would have to start picking off the top three. It would probably be either someone like Dustin, the twins. You got Passion. I mean, shoot, that's Talon Henley's home track.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you got to make sure you keep him in the loop there. Man, that's tough. That's tough. I'm gonna say at least one of the twins is gonna win, probably two-wheel. I would have to imagine, and then let's go with. Man, I don't know who to go with for four-wheel. Maybe Passion, or that those two always seem to be kind of the top guys when they show up from the past couple races I've been to. So that would probably be my guess for stock. Are we doing mod too, or?
Yeah, go with mod.
All right, mod. Brock Champlin, he's been putting in thousands of laps. I've been watching his Instagram stories. He's been posting a lot of stuff. So I think he's going to be definitely one to be up there. I'm going to hope my boy Spencer's up there. He's one of my best friends out there. So I would say probably between Brock, Spencer, Dakotah, those are probably going to be my picks. Wild card between those three, in all honesty.
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I gotta think for stock, but I think kind of agreeing with Daimon, definitely those guys. I think Nate Sutherland, I think he could be pretty up there. The Schumacher cars are really good on high grip, and I think Hoosier is pretty damn high grip, if I'm right. I think so. I think he'll be a pretty good bet, and then also the Levi twins, like they're dirt specialists. I think for four-wheel, I think they'll be really strong, but I think two will be a little bit more wide open. And I don't know what Dustin is like on dirt. I know it looks like he's very quick on carpet, but I haven't seen him much on dirt. Like I'm sure Daimon will be able to tell me that. And I think for modified, I think it's hard to say, that Spencer, Phend, Brock. I'd even say Aydin. Like, I think those four have a really good chance of getting a really good result. Maybe even Brennan as well. He seems like he's kind of upped his game a little bit more as well since he's kind of jumped over to XRAY. So, but I mean, it'll be cool to see like maybe Doug up there as well. Like, I know he's going to be looking for a good result. I don't know if is Cav and Mayfield going, because it's a Worlds year, and I don't know if either of those guys are doing the Worlds. Oh, are they not?
I don't think Mayfield's good.
Ah, okay. So, well, yeah, I guess I'll kind of leave it at that, to be honest.
I can't argue with those picks. Stock is going to be. I think I'm with Daimon. The Raymond twins, Pacioni, Moran, maybe. I think that's going to be those guys. Hard not to pick Aydin Horne. I have to throw Chase Lemieux in there as well. Talon Henley as well. Sorry, in stock, he should do well. Nate should as well. You'll see. I think right now what we're seeing is probably one of the most competitive. Oh, you know who we're not talking? Davy Botta. I forgot all about him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
David Bada. I think what we're seeing right now and developing is probably one of the most stacked competitive 10 scale mod classes in America we've had in a long time. We went through a little stalemate where it was just like, like a Phend, a Rivkin battling each other. Now these guys are up there like Lemieux and Aydin, throw Aydin Horne in there, and a Brock, obviously. Rinderneck as well. So there is a stacked mod class right now in the USA. It used and that's good to see, because it used to be that stock was the most stacked one. But now we're seeing equally stacked competitive guys that can win this. When we're throwing out names like a Lemieux, like a Bada, a Rinderneck, or a Champlin, when for the longest time was just Rivkin, Phend, and Champlin. So it's going to be interesting. I think we all win as RC racing fans with that. And it's going to be an interesting dark nets that then leads into Ireland, which it's going to heat up again, because it seems like Tampa's just flooring carpet. And I think we're going to probably see a reenactment, something. There was no drama at Trackside. I think there was drama at RC1, and I think there's going to be drama at Island, which is coming up very shortly. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I know you're going, Damon. I hope you enjoy it. And one last thing before we go. Thoughts on TLR's new release of their 22X?
So I can't say I've looked into it too much. It's kind of hard to take it super serious, being who's going to be out there with it. I think that's kind of the toughest thing. I think there's one name I can think of off the top of my head, and that's Hunter King, who's still kind of on the TLR, TLR program. So yeah, I mean, for them, I mean, I hope it sells and it's not a complete whiff, but it's hard to say that they're going to have any sort of foothold in the racing market, whether it's good or not. I don't think it's going to be able to get shown off at all.
Fair enough. Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely with Daimon on that one. I think I'm still a little bit like, why develop a whole car and kind of decide to can the other side of it, which is having a team? Because it looks like a great car, and I think it would do well, but they just haven't got the drivers now to kind of really show what it's capable of. So I think, but I'm sure they started their development on that car before they made all these other decisions, let's say. So I feel like they probably had to carry on with it, but it looks good. But I just don't know if people will be able to if they'll be able to show its full potential, just because of the lack of team and support. That's kind of, I'd say, my worry with it.
I kind of feel the same way. No team to really go out there and race. Hunter King, top driver. I think he's a very good stock driver, so he should do good with it. Looks like they kind of just caught up with the rest of the cars with quick change diffs, all that type of stuff. So the TLR diehards will be happy. But like you said, they're a racing team, and when there's nobody to compete at the high level, right now it's okay. And well, like I said, Hunter King would do good for him in stock. I don't know if he's going to run mod, but you kind of, when you would come from a team that had Dakotah Phend and Taters and all these, it's such a heritage that TLR has. You have a big heritage of winning big races. You don't have that chance no more. And I'm kind of like kerfuffled on the whole thing. Like, I'm just like, whatever. I'm happy for the people that are TLR guys. But remember, they just disintegrated their whole pro racing team. So how do you go to the next level when you don't have people testing out at that next level? I don't know. We'll see how everything goes at it's not saying that we don't see TLRs at races. We do, but you don't. We don't really see it. Before we leave, I just want to say a big shout out to RC1 for all their hard work, putting on a good race. And I'll give it to Lance and everybody at Elite. They did a good job getting everything done. And also to the races that I met up there. There were some other, that race attracted people from all over. We had a lot of people from the Northeast coming up. Obviously, some people from the Southeast, from Florida. It was a good weekend. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my 2 rounds at both different tracks, both very different atmospheres, but very good. It was good to meet some of the racers. If we didn't get into some of the other races, we do apologize for that. I do have to say, one person that did impress me, who was in the Indy class, was Braden Bangshi. Was very good in that all red car. as well. Him and Skylar Mandela were very good in the Indy class. It was good to meet him. There was a lot of good people up there. I had a lot of fun. It's absolutely one of the most convenient. I forgot to mention this. It's actually a very convenient race. You don't need a car because the hotels are literally less than 5 minutes walking distance. There's things all around there that you can eat, and you can just leave your stuff at the track and walk back and forth to your hotel. That's how close things are. And if you want to go into town, you can just Uber. It's beautiful up there. Absolutely beautiful up there. And I enjoyed myself and all of that up there. And before we leave, I found the interview that we're going to play it, right? And I think that Associated makes no freaking mistake and sends a full squad into Ireland in a couple weeks' time, because they're not going to be happy about what happened at RC1. And if I'm Associated, I'm sending all the big guns. I might even fly in Ongaro. Yeah, if I'm in, that's what I would be doing. Fly in Ongaro or Carrot. That's who I'd fly in. I fly in Carrot to come over here and race. Or they can always get the chairman. Send the chairman over to race. There you go. You can race Indy stock. There.
What's that, 21.5 or something?
Yeah, yeah.
I think if I ever did that, I wouldn't be allowed back into the country.
I'm all about 21.5. That's my speed. That's absolutely my speed. Daimon, thank you for your time. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, no, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
I really like that JConcepts shirt.
Thank you. It's nice, isn't it?
It is very nice.
Yeah, I saw one at the shop. I didn't even know they released it, and I picked out a large, and I said, gonna have to have one of these.
There you go. We're gonna have you back on her as well. Will, thank you for your time as usual. And the chairman is here. Don't forget to check out the chairman and Max Mort's video podcast that they did. If we missed something from RC1, we do apologize, but it was a great weekend. Next up is Ireland. I'm actually it's one of the rounds I really wanted to go to, and I'm not gonna be able to make it. So everybody have fun there. And as for me, one of the best moments that came out of this was this interview coming up next. But before I do that, I want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors that make this possible. First, big shout out to JConcepts, AMA and Hobbies, Hobby Wing, Schumacher, Exalt, Team Associated, Reedy, and of course, the crew over there, my boys over there at Elite RC Productions. Thank you for the opportunity to come up there. I had a blast at INS. And thank you, Aydin Horne, for providing this gem. And we're going to finish up on that because it's all about the drama. And let me get this going. All right, let's have a word with Dakotah Phend after taking that victory. There you see the drama. Have a little bit of kerfuffle down here between the X-ray guys and Indian guys right here in front of them. People are not happy. All right, so Tater and Aydin are arguing right now. Doug Leverrier and Breda, so they're arguing about who would let them by. We got some drama down here. Tempers are hot between Aydin, Doug. So it looks like the X-ray and Associated guys are getting at it. Come on over here, Dakotah. You're not involved in none of that because you was in front.
Yeah, glad to have a good run there in A2 of 4-wheel after the last two mains. Definitely not how I wanted. Kind of just drove a little bit off in A1 of 4-wheel drive and kind of just had some crap happen that was on me, and to clean that up. And then 2-wheel drive just I don't know, just is what it is. We'll rebound here for A3s and try to get it done both of them.
Great performance. We're looking forward. We always love A3s. Good job. You got the whole family there, and hopefully maybe Dax gets to see his dad take a big win. All right. Come over here, Aydin. What's all this hype about? What's going on here?
Dude. No. Q1, I'm running third. Tater's in eighth. And I go to pass him, and he just cleans me out for no reason. He's my friend. I love him to death. I don't know why he did that to me. And then he tries to blame me. And then A1 of 4-wheel, he blatantly takes me out again. And then he's mad that I have a problem with it. And then A2, I'm battling for second. I come up to lap him, and he doesn't let me by, and he's aiming for me. What is this guy's problem? I don't know. Get him off the track. At least he didn't even make the 2-wheel main, so I only have to deal with him in 4-wheel.
Thank you. Good words from Aydin Horne. Tempers are hot. Let's see what A3 brings. That was so epic. That was so epic. I enjoyed that. That made my weekend. I know people are like, well, you like the drama. No, I like passion. And Aydin Horne brings passion. He brings personality. He brings charisma. Maybe you don't like it. That's fine. But we kind of need that in RC. All right, everybody. We went over time limit as usual. Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Will. Thank you to everybody. We hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be back later on this week. We got JQ and Pecco joining me for some 8-scale talk for the No Name RC podcast. This was the INS15 Indoor Nationals, round number 2, RC1 race report, and we will see you later.